Hello and welcome back. Today we'll be looking at a Hoglin Farm. This farm is capable of producing huge amounts of cooked pork chop, raw pork chop, and leather. We'll also go over how to use those drops to get a huge amount of emeralds in your villager trading hall, as well as some simple modifications so you can add an on and off switch to this farm. So first we'll quickly go over the mechanics we're going to be using for this farm. Hoglins only spawn in the Crimson Forest biome, so obviously must be built in that biome. The Crimson Forest can spawn zombie pigs, piglins, hoglins, and striders, and we're able to prevent the zombie pigs and the piglins spawning by using light levels. A light level of greater than 11 is needed to prevent those spawns, and can be accomplished just by using torches, or as we'll see in this other farm, glowstone. Unlike their overworld counterpart, the pigs, hoglins are considered hostile mobs, and therefore they use the hostile mob cap of 70, so you're able to have way more in your world at the same time. Obviously, in order to get the spawn rates that you see here, you need to create a full spawn perimeter. We'll take a quick look at the spawning platforms. The platforms themselves are 32 by 5, and that measurement is not including the outside walls. The warped fungus placement was kind of experimental to just try. You want to try to place them such that the hoglins congregate in front of the drop chute trapdoors. Like a lot of farms, this farm uses the idea that mobs see trapdoors as full blocks. So as they run away from the warped fungus, they will see these trapdoors as full blocks and will try to run across here to get away from the warped fungus. And since your adult hoglins are more than 1 block tall, these upper trapdoors are there to actually prevent them from being able to get over into this space if they're falling down or they're able to make that gap for whatever reason. So we'll go back outside, and you'll note that there are two drop chutes. You have 15 platforms, and one side drops down onto soul sand that has wither roses on top of them, where the other side drops down into some lava. There's just a single lava source in here that's allowed to flow across, and there's one trap door that's missing. That's to allow the babies to catch on fire, since they're able to fall through the lava and live in this space below it. The trapdoors are here to hold up the lava, and that is just so that the lava doesn't burn up your drops. The reason for having these two separate drop areas is so that you're able to get cooked pork chop from the lava and raw pork chop by killing the hoglins using the wither roses. You can, of course, adjust this design to use just one killing method if you're only interested in the raw pork chop, or if you're only interested in the cooked pork chop. So next we'll take a quick look at the sorting system. So the hoppers they collect the drops as your hoglins die, and it's just a hopper chain that leads towards the center, and then into a collection chest. So you have a double chest per side. So all of them on this side lead into this chest, all of them on that side lead into this chest, and that's true on both the front and the back. And once you collect your drops into these chests, we have a one wide sorting system down here. So these are item filters, where this back one is set to raw pork chop and the front one leather, and for the side with the lava you have the back one set to cooked pork chop and the front one to leather. So that will filter your items down through here, and you just have some hoppers that connect them up to your storage at the end. So this chest you'll have just your raw, the middle chest you have your leather where they are combined together, and on the right hand side you'll have your cooked pork chops. So while we're here, we'll take a look at the rates real quick. This farm creates just a huge amount of items. So this farm will create over 10,000 raw pork chops per hour. I got over 9,000 cooked pork chops per hour. I don't think that the difference between those is significant. I think that's just variation. They should theoretically be about equal. I don't think the lava burns up too many of the drops. And I got a little over 3,000 leather per hour. One thing that's interesting to note is that there is a limitation on this farm of the hopper. Hoppers can only move 9,000 items per hour, so if you run this for a very long period of time, your pork can start to build up, in these collection chests here. One way to remedy that would be to just build a few less platforms. I selected 15 platforms just because that was the amount needed to max out the mob cap. So next we'll take a look at one thing you can do with these drops, and then after that we'll go over and we'll look at some redstone modifications that you can use to make a full on-off switch for this farm. So one thing that I think is overlooked about Hoglins is that villagers look to buy pork chops and leather. So as you can see here, you are able to cure these guys down, so to get their trade down to 1 leather per 1 emerald. Just note that when you're creating your villager trading hall for these, they don't necessarily always have the trade that you want, so you might have to break your blocks and try again to get the trades that you want. And down here, just to show for an example, when you first set up their trades, they can be quite a bit more expensive. So there is a big advantage in zombifying them and then using your potion of weakness and golden apples to cure them. To always be able to guarantee that you get down to 1 item per 1 emerald. Okay, so real quick, we'll just trade with some of these guys. And there you go. So I went through 1 stack of raw pork chops, got 1 stack of emeralds. And you can trade, of course, for leather in the same way. So if you're interested in this villager trading setup, there are plenty of videos out there on YouTube. They usually have something along the lines of a villager trading hall in the title. Use the idea of you have a lever, it'll drop your villager down in the back, and there's a channel back here where you're with a zombie that won't despawn will able to kill your villagers and turn them into a zombified villager, and then you can cure them. So this guy here, he picked up a netherite sword, so he won't despawn because he's holding an item. And the one on this side, I believe I nicknamed. So yeah, he's a wise guy over here. So next we'll take a look at a modification that you can do to the Hoglin Tower to make it so that it has an on and off switch. So while we're looking at that, we'll just change this to glass so we don't have to worry about mob spawns over there. And over here you'll see that currently there is lava dispensed everywhere. And that lava is dispensed from, you have dispensers with buckets here, and you have observers. So you have observer and dispenser towers going up the sides. You can see you have 2 in the front there, and 1 along the back. So the placement of these towers was decided just where you get the best coverage. So Hoglins need a 2x2 area to spawn, so as long as the lava is able to cover the platforms in such a way that there's not any 2x2 areas exposed, it'll fully prevent your Hoglin spawns. You can toggle this switch by hitting this target block. And you'll notice a couple things that are a little bit different. So on this side, you can't use torches because the lava will pop off your torches. So I used a pattern of glowstone in order to get the light levels needed. So this pattern, it seems pretty efficient, doesn't use too many glowstones. It's an even number across, so you end up with 2 next to each other in the center. And in addition to the differences in the lighting methods, you also need some additional trapdoors. So as the lava is dispensed, you don't want it to come down here into your drop chute to destroy your wither roses. And also just because lava takes a pretty long time to dissolve after the source block is removed. So got around that just by padding everything in the drop chute with additional trapdoors. Next we'll take a little more detailed look at some of the redstone. So I showed already that this target block can toggle it. The target block sends its pulse into this sticky piston. The sticky piston pushes this observer out into this redstone, and the observer will emit a pulse once it's completely extended, which will hit this redstone. And it's just a redstone path going around to hit these note blocks. You don't actually need the note blocks. You could actually do that. The note blocks are there just so you can toggle the towers individually if you really need to. So we'll just put this back real quick. And just to demonstrate, you can punch these note blocks, which will also trigger the lava to dispense. And the third tower just has the redstone continue over using a repeater where necessary. Okay, so I've turned the mobs back on so we can just see this one in action a little bit here. And after letting the farm run for a few seconds, you'll see that over on the right-hand side there is a count that counts how many hoglins currently exist in the world. And you'll see that these farms, when they're running, they do pretty consistently have above 60, and they will occasionally hit the full mob cap of 70 mobs. So we can come over here and we can shoot our target block, which will dispense all of the lava. And after all of your hoglins burn up here, you'll see that the count does hit a perfect 0. It looks like one guy survived this time. So one thing to note, that when you have lava dispense like this, you will occasionally spawn striders in here. So if you're in this area with this mob farm turned off for long periods of time, you will accumulate string in these chests. And because we're not filtering on that string, the string will just stay in these chests forever. So this sort of kill setup, if it's set up like this with the gates here to separate the lava and the wither rows, it does do a pretty good job of preventing drops from falling from one side to the other. So it is extremely rare for you to get uncooked pork chop on the side for cooked, and vice versa. So it does do a pretty good job of separating those. In my testing, I didn't find a considerable difference in the drop rates between this version of the farm and the other, although this version does have technically less spawnable space. Hoglins, they can't start spawning on the glowstone blocks, although the glowstone can be underneath the blocks they end up spawning on top of, since they need a 2x2 area to spawn. I think it's also worth noting that if you go higher than 15 platforms like this, you're still to run into a problem where you are too high up and the hoglins will actually die to fall damage when they fall down. So you will start to get uncooked pork chop, the raw pork chops in the side where you would expect your cooked pork chop. So it is important not to go more than the 15 platforms that I have here. You could go less, of course, if you wanted to. That is all I have for you today. If you like this video, please leave a like. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section down below. Thank you and goodbye.